What if I told you that everything you've been taught about manifestation is backwards? That the reason you're still struggling, still hoping, still waiting for your reality to shift isn't because you don't know enough techniques or haven't practiced long enough, but because you've been convinced that creating your reality requires complexity when the truth is devastatingly simple. The quantum field doesn't respond to your effort. It doesn't measure your dedication or count your affirmations. It doesn't care how many vision boards you've made or how perfectly you've visualized your future. The quantum field responds to one thing only: your coherent broadcast. And most people have never learned what that actually means. You see, we live in a culture that has weaponized complexity against our natural creative power. We've been sold the lie that transformation requires struggle, that manifestation demands ritual, that changing your reality needs steps and stages and systematic approaches. But when you look at quantum physics, when you really understand how consciousness interfaces with the field of infinite possibility, you discover something that will either liberate you completely or shatter everything you thought you knew about creating change. The quantum field is not interested in your process. It's interested in your presence. It's not measuring your technique, it's measuring your truth. Think about it. When a child wants something, truly wants something, they don't create elaborate manifestation protocols. They don't spend weeks in meditation or months in visualization. They simply exist in the frequency of having it. They play with it in their imagination, not as a technique but as a natural expression. They talk about it as if it's already real because to them it is. Their entire being becomes congruent with the reality they desire, not through effort but through alignment. That's the secret that got lost somewhere between childhood and adulthood, between innocence and conditioning, between natural flow and learned struggle. The quantum field is always listening, always responding, always reflecting back the sum total of your energetic broadcast. But here's what most people don't understand. Your broadcast isn't your thoughts. It's not your words. It's not your intentions or your goals or your carefully crafted affirmations. Your broadcast is the frequency you embody when no one is watching, when you're not trying to manifest anything, when you're simply being yourself in the quiet moments between desires. It's the vibration you hold about yourself, about life, about what's possible for someone like you. And if that vibration contains doubt, unworthiness, fear, or the belief that good things are hard to come by, then no amount of technique will override that fundamental frequency. This is why some people seem to manifest effortlessly, while others struggle for years with the same desires. It's not about worthiness. It's not about karma or past lives or being chosen or special. It's about coherence. The people who manifest with ease aren't doing more. They're being more. They're not trying harder, they're aligning deeper. They've somehow maintained or recovered that childlike assumption that reality is malleable, that their inner world has power, that what they feel and believe and embody matters in the grand scheme of creation. But here's the beautiful truth that no one talks about. You don't have to earn this coherence. You don't have to heal every wound or clear every limiting belief or become enlightened before you can create change. Coherence isn't a destination, it's a choice you make in each moment to align with the version of yourself that already has what you desire, that already lives in the reality you're seeking to create. And that version of you isn't somewhere in the future waiting for you to become worthy. That version of you exists right now in the quantum field, broadcasting a signal so clear, so consistent, so undeniably real, that when you tune into it, when you let yourself be it, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself around that frequency. The quantum field doesn't speak English. It doesn't understand Spanish or Mandarin or any human language at all. The quantum field speaks frequency, and frequency is the language of emotion, of cellular vibration, of the electromagnetic field generated by your heart, and the neural oscillations of your brain when they come into harmony. This is why affirmations often fail, why positive thinking alone rarely creates lasting change, why you can think abundant thoughts all day long and still experience financial struggle. you're speaking the wrong language. When you say, "I am wealthy," but your nervous system is contracted with worry about bills, you're not speaking coherently to the field. When you visualize your dream relationship but your heart carries the unhealed patterns of past betrayals, you're broadcasting mixed signals. When you affirm your confidence but your body posture, your breathing, your cellular memory still holds the imprint of childhood shame, the field receives contradiction, not clarity. And the quantum field can only reflect back what it receives most consistently, most authentically, most frequently. This is where most manifestation teachings fail you. They focus on the mind while ignoring the body. They address your thoughts while leaving your nervous system unchanged. They try to program new beliefs on top of old emotional patterns, like painting over rust and expecting it not to show through. But your body keeps the score, as trauma research has shown us. Your nervous system remembers every disappointment, every rejection, every moment you decided it wasn't safe to want what you wanted. And until that somatic memory is addressed, until your entire being learns to broadcast the new frequency, your manifestations will remain inconsistent, temporary, or frustratingly out of reach. The language of frequency is learned not through study, but through embodiment. It's learned when you practice feeling abundant before you have external abundance. It's learned when you train your nervous system to feel worthy before the world gives you reasons to feel worthy. It's learned when you breathe into the cellular memory of having what you desire until that feeling becomes more familiar than the feeling of lacking it. This isn't about pretending or fake it till you make it. This is about recognizing that the feeling of having what you want already exists within you as a potential frequency, and your job is simply to tune into that station more consistently than you tune into the station of not having it. Your heart generates an electromagnetic field that's 60 times greater in amplitude than your brain and can be detected several feet away from your body. When your heart is coherent, when it's beating in the rhythm of appreciation, love, gratitude, or excitement, it creates a measurable field of influence that extends beyond your physical form and interacts with the quantum field in ways science is just beginning to understand. This is not metaphysics. This is measurable physics. Your emotional state is literally broadcasting into the field around you, influencing probability, affecting synchronicity, altering the likelihood of certain experiences manifesting in your reality. But here's what they don't teach you in manifestation courses. You can't fake heart coherence. You can't manufacture authentic appreciation. You can't force your nervous system into the frequency of having what you desire. These states arise naturally when you stop trying so hard and start allowing yourself to feel what's already true at the deepest level of your being. When you stop fighting your desires and start honoring them. When you stop judging your wants as selfish or unrealistic and start recognizing them as the universe's way of calling you toward your highest expression. I want to pause here for a moment because something is shifting in the field as we speak. If you're feeling a resonance with these words, if something is stirring in your body as you listen, that's not coincidence. That's coherence beginning to emerge. That's your frequency starting to align with the truth of your creative power. And I want you to know that you're not here by accident. You didn't stumble upon this video randomly. Your higher self, your quantum self, the version of you that already lives in the reality you're seeking to create, guided you here because it's time. It's time to stop struggling with manifestation and start flowing with it. It's time to stop trying so hard and start being so aligned that your desires have no choice but to find you. If this is resonating, if you feel that stirring, that recognition, that sense of coming home to something you've always known but maybe forgotten, then subscribe to this channel. Not because I'm asking you to, but because your intuition is guiding you to create a consistent frequency of growth, of expansion, of remembering who you really are. Hit that notification bell not just to get alerts about new videos, but as a symbolic act of saying yes to your own evolution. And drop a comment below. Tell me what's shifting for you right now. Tell me what you're ready to call into your reality. Because when you declare it, when you speak it into existence, you're not just sharing with me, you're broadcasting to the quantum field itself. There's a profound difference between doing manifestation and being manifestation, and this difference determines whether you'll spend years chasing your desires or effortlessly attract them into your experience. Most people approach manifestation like a job, like a task to be completed, like a skill to be mastered through repetition and effort. They schedule their visualization sessions, set reminders for their affirmations, create elaborate rituals around their manifestation practice. And while there's nothing wrong with these tools, when they become the focus instead of the feeling, when technique overshadows truth, when doing replaces being, they actually create more separation between you and what you desire. The quantum field doesn't respond to what you do. It responds to who you are. It mirrors back the frequency you embody most consistently, most authentically. And embodiment isn't a practice you do for 20 minutes in the morning. Embodiment is a way of being that permeates every moment of your existence. It's how you breathe when you think no one is watching. It's the posture you hold when you're alone. It's the story you tell yourself about yourself when the world is quiet. It's the assumptions you make about what's possible for someone like you, about how life works, about whether the universe is friendly or indifferent to your dreams. When you truly embody the version of yourself that has what you desire, everything changes. Not because you're pretending or putting on an act, but because you're allowing yourself to access a frequency that already exists within you. You see, the person you would be if you had everything you wanted isn't some future version of yourself that you need to become. That person exists right now as a potential frequency in the quantum field. Every possible version of you, every timeline, every reality exists simultaneously in the realm of pure potential. Your job isn't to create these possibilities. Your job is to select them through the frequency you consistently embody. This is where the concept of parallel realities becomes practical rather than theoretical. Right now, there's a version of you living in financial abundance, experiencing deep love, expressing your gifts fully, feeling completely worthy and confident. That version of you isn't waiting for you to earn the right to become them. They're broadcasting a signal right now, a frequency of being that you can tune into at any moment. When you embody that frequency, when you allow yourself to feel what they feel, think how they think, breathe how they breathe, move how they move, you're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're remembering who you've always been beneath the layers of conditioning and limitation. But embodiment requires a level of self-permission that most people struggle to give themselves. It requires you to act as if you're worthy before the world confirms your worthiness. It requires you to feel abundant before your bank account reflects abundance. It requires you to love yourself before others love you the way you want to be loved. It requires you to trust your desires before you have evidence that they're possible. This level of self-authorization feels radical in a culture that teaches us to wait for external validation, to earn our happiness, to prove our worthiness before we claim our desires. The resistance you feel to embodying your desired reality isn't spiritual resistance or the universe testing you. It's psychological resistance. It's the part of your identity that has organized itself around lack, around not having, around not being enough. This identity feels threatened when you start embodying abundance, confidence, love, or success, because its very existence depends on you remaining small, safe, predictable. It will create thoughts that make embodiment feel fake, selfish, unrealistic. It will generate emotions designed to pull you back to the familiar frequency of limitation. It will interpret the discomfort of expansion as evidence that you're doing something wrong. But here's the truth that will set you free. That discomfort isn't a stop sign, it's a growth sign. It's evidence that you're stretching beyond the boundaries of your current identity into the frequency of your next-level self. The part of you that feels resistance to embodying your desires isn't your authentic self speaking. It's your conditioned self trying to maintain control, trying to keep you safe in the prison of the familiar. Your authentic self, your quantum self, the version of you that exists beyond conditioning and limitation, recognizes the frequency of your desires as home. When you embody what you want to experience, when you allow yourself to feel abundant, loved, successful, confident, that deepest part of you sighs with relief because you're finally remembering who you really are. The most sophisticated prison ever created isn't made of steel bars or concrete walls. It's made of your own subconscious programming. And the cruelest part is that you're both the prisoner and the warden, the victim and the perpetrator, the one who longs for freedom and the one who unconsciously maintains the very patterns that keep you trapped. Your subconscious mind, that vast repository of every experience you've ever had, every belief you've ever absorbed, every emotion you've ever suppressed, isn't trying to sabotage your manifestations. It's trying to keep you safe. But safety, as your subconscious defines it, means staying within the boundaries of what you've already survived, what you've already proven you can handle, what feels familiar, even if it feels miserable. When you were 7 years old and you got excited about something you wanted for your birthday, and your parents told you that money doesn't grow on trees, your subconscious filed that away as important survival information. When you were 12 and you shared your dreams with friends who laughed at you, your subconscious learned that wanting big things leads to humiliation. When you were 17 and your heart was broken for the first time, your subconscious concluded that opening yourself to love means opening yourself to pain. These weren't conscious decisions. They were survival adaptations made by a young nervous system trying to navigate a world that often felt unpredictable and unsafe. Now, decades later, when you try to manifest abundance, your subconscious whispers that wanting too much is dangerous. When you try to call in love, it creates scenarios designed to protect you from potential heartbreak. When you try to embody confidence, it generates thoughts about how arrogance leads to rejection. It's not being malicious, it's being protective. It's doing the job you unconsciously gave it all those years ago. Keep me safe from disappointment, rejection, and pain, even if that means keeping me small, hidden, and unfulfilled. This is why willpower rarely works for lasting change. This is why positive thinking alone feels so hollow. This is why you can understand manifestation intellectually but struggle to embody it practically. Your conscious mind might be fully on board with creating a new reality, but if your subconscious is still operating from old programming, still broadcasting the frequency of not enough, not worthy, not safe, then you're essentially trying to drive to a new destination with the parking brake on. You'll make some progress, but it will be slow, frustrating, and exhausting. The key to breaking free from subconscious sabotage isn't to fight these patterns or try to override them with force. The key is to compassionately acknowledge them while consistently choosing to embody a new frequency. It's to recognize that these protective mechanisms served you once upon a time, but they're no longer serving the version of you that you're becoming. It's to thank your subconscious for trying to keep you safe while gently showing it that safety now looks like expansion, growth, and the fulfillment of your desires rather than the limitation of them. This process requires patience with yourself, compassion for the wounded parts of your psyche that are still trying to protect you from pain that happened years or decades ago. It requires you to become the loving parent to your own inner child, the one who got hurt, who learned to expect disappointment, who decided that wanting was dangerous. You have to show this part of yourself through consistent embodiment of your desired frequency, that it's now safe to want, safe to have, safe to be seen, safe to take up space, safe to shine, safe to be magnificently, unapologetically yourself. The beautiful thing about working with your subconscious this way is that it actually wants to support you. It wants to help you create the life you desire. but it needs to feel safe doing so. It needs to experience evidence that embodying abundance won't lead to loss, that embodying love won't lead to betrayal, that embodying confidence won't lead to rejection. And the only way to provide this evidence is through consistent practice, through showing up in the frequency of your desires, even when the old programming tries to pull you back to the familiar patterns of limitation. I need to share something with you right now, something that's coming through as I speak these words. There's someone listening to this who has been trying to manifest the same thing for months, maybe years, and you're starting to believe that maybe it's not meant for you, maybe you're asking for too much, maybe you should just accept less and be grateful for what you have. And I want you to know that those thoughts aren't coming from your wisdom, they're coming from your wounds. They're coming from the part of you that learned long ago that disappointment hurts less if you don't hope too hard, that rejection stings less if you don't want too much. But you do want. You want deeply, powerfully, authentically. And that wanting isn't a weakness. It's a frequency. It's the universe calling you toward your highest expression. It's life itself trying to live more fully through you. So don't you dare apologize for your desires. Don't you dare make them smaller to make others comfortable. Don't you dare convince yourself that wanting less is somehow more spiritual or more mature. Your desires are sacred. They're the breadcrumbs leading you home to who you really are. If you're feeling this, if these words are hitting something deep in your chest, then I want you to do something right now. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, not just because you enjoy the content, but as an act of self-love, as a commitment to your own growth, as a declaration that you're ready to stop playing small and start embodying the magnificence that you are. And please share in the comments what you're ready to stop apologizing for wanting. What desire have you been making smaller? What dream have you been hiding? Because when you speak it, when you own it, when you claim it, you're not just sharing with me, you're declaring to the universe that you're ready to receive it. What neuroscience has discovered about the connection between your heart and brain will completely change how you understand manifestation, because it reveals that your heart isn't just a pump circulating blood through your body. Your heart is actually a sophisticated information processing center with its own neural network containing over 40,000 neurons, more than many animals have in their entire brains. These heart neurons can remember, learn, and make decisions independently of your brain, and they're constantly sending signals upward to your brain that influence your perceptions, emotions, and ultimately your reality. When your heart and brain achieve coherence, when the rhythm of your heart and the waves of your brain synchronize in harmony, something extraordinary happens in your physiology. Your nervous system shifts into a state that researchers call psychophysiological coherence, a state characterized by increased intuition, enhanced creativity, improved decision-making, and what can only be described as an expanded sense of connection to the field of infinite possibility. In this state, your body becomes a more refined instrument for both receiving and transmitting information to and from the quantum field. But here's what makes this discovery revolutionary for manifestation. Heart-brain coherence isn't just a nice feeling or a pleasant state of relaxation. It's a measurable shift in your electromagnetic signature, the energetic field that extends beyond your physical body and interacts with the world around you. When you're in coherence, when your heart is beating in the rhythm of appreciation, gratitude, compassion, or love, you're literally broadcasting a different frequency into the field. You're changing the probability of certain experiences manifesting in your reality. The Institute of HeartMath has conducted thousands of studies showing that this coherent state can be cultivated intentionally. And when it is, people experience not just improved health and emotional well-being, but also increased synchronicity, enhanced intuition, and what researchers carefully call improved outcomes in various areas of life. They can't officially call it manifestation because that would venture into territories that mainstream science isn't quite ready to explore. But the implications are clear to anyone willing to connect the dots between consciousness, coherence, and the creation of experience. This is why emotion is so crucial in manifestation. It's not because the universe responds to your feelings in some mystical way. It's because your emotions literally change your physiology, alter your electromagnetic field, and modify the information you're both sending to and receiving from the quantum field of possibility. When you feel grateful, truly grateful, not as a technique, but as an authentic response to life, your heart rhythm becomes coherent, your brain waves synchronize, and you enter a state where you're naturally more aligned with the experiences you desire. The challenge most people face is that they try to manufacture these emotions rather than cultivate them authentically. They try to force gratitude when they're feeling frustrated. They try to generate love when they're feeling lonely. They try to create excitement when they're feeling depressed, but the heart knows the difference between authentic emotion and manufactured emotion, and it will only create coherence in response to authentic feeling. This is why gratitude practices often fail when they become rote recitations of things you think you should be grateful for rather than genuine appreciation for what authentically moves you. The secret to cultivating heart-brain coherence lies not in trying to feel emotions you don't feel, but in finding authentic appreciation for what's already present in your experience. Maybe you can't feel grateful for your current financial situation, but you can feel genuine appreciation for your morning coffee, for the way sunlight streams through your window, for the fact that your heart has been beating faithfully every moment of your life without you having to think about it. Starting with small, authentic appreciations creates a foundation of coherence that naturally expands to encompass larger areas of your experience. When you're in coherence, when your heart and brain are synchronized, when your electromagnetic field is broadcasting harmony rather than chaos, you become magnetic to experiences that match that frequency. Not because you're putting out a request to the universe, but because you've become energetically compatible with higher possibilities. You've tuned your entire being to a frequency where synchronicity is normal, where opportunities appear naturally, where the right people show up at the right time, where what you need comes to you with an ease that feels almost miraculous, but is actually just physics. This is the observer effect applied to daily life. In quantum physics, the observer effect describes how the consciousness observing an experiment actually influences the outcome of that experiment. Your coherent attention, your aligned awareness, your heart-brain synchronized observation of your life actually influences what possibilities collapse from the field of potential into your actual experience. When you observe your life from coherence, from appreciation, from love, from the assumption that good things are natural and normal for you, you're not just passively watching your reality unfold. You're actively participating in its creation through the quality of your observation. Everything you've been taught about manifestation assumes that time works in a straight line, that you plant seeds of desire in the present and wait for them to grow into reality in the future, that there's always a gap between wanting and having, between asking and receiving, between the thought and the thing. But quantum physics reveals something that will shatter this linear understanding completely. Time, as you experience it, is an illusion created by consciousness moving through infinite parallel realities. And manifestation isn't about creating something in the future. It's about accessing what already exists in an eternal now. In the quantum field, all possibilities exist simultaneously. The version of you that has financial abundance exists right now. The version of you experiencing profound love exists right now. The version of you living your dream life, expressing your gifts fully, feeling completely aligned and fulfilled, exists right now. These aren't future potentials waiting to be created. They're present realities existing in parallel dimensions of possibility, and the only thing determining which reality you experience is the frequency you're broadcasting in each moment. This is why manifestation can happen instantly, why some people seem to quantum leap from one reality to another without the gradual progression that linear thinking would suggest is necessary. They haven't created something new. They've shifted their frequency so dramatically, so completely, that they've literally moved from one parallel reality to another. The external world didn't change gradually. Their internal alignment shifted so profoundly that they quantum jumped to a timeline where their desires were already fulfilled. But here's where most people get stuck. They try to manifest from linear time while living in quantum time. They set intentions for the future while their frequency is rooted in the past. They visualize what they want tomorrow while their emotional body is replaying yesterday's disappointments. They affirm abundance for next month while their nervous system is contracting with this month's financial stress. This creates a kind of temporal dissonance that keeps them looping in the same reality, experiencing variations of the same patterns, getting close to their desires but never quite able to access the timeline where those desires are already fulfilled. The secret to collapsing time in manifestation is learning to live from the end, to embody the frequency of having what you desire right now, not as a technique, but as a recognition of what's already true in the quantum field. When you truly understand that the version of you that has everything you want exists right now, when you feel this not as a concept but as a reality, when you allow yourself to access that frequency and broadcast it consistently, you're not trying to create a future reality. You're selecting a present reality from the infinite menu of possibilities that surround you in every moment. This requires a complete shift in how you relate to time itself. Instead of seeing yourself as moving through time toward your desires, you begin to see yourself as moving through possibilities, shifting from one reality to another through the power of your aligned attention and coherent emotion. Your desires aren't somewhere out there in the future waiting for you to reach them. They're right here, right now, separated from you only by the frequency you're broadcasting. When you really get this, when you truly understand that manifestation is about accessing rather than creating, about selecting rather than building, about tuning in rather than making happen, everything changes. The pressure to make things work dissolves because you realize you're not making anything work. You're simply aligning with what's already working in a parallel reality. The fear that your desires might not manifest dissolves because you recognize that they're already manifested in the quantum field. Your job isn't to create them. Your job is to become energetically compatible with the version of reality where they already exist. This is why present moment awareness is so crucial in manifestation. Not because being present is a nice spiritual practice, but because the quantum field only exists in the now. The past is a collection of memories. The future is a projection of possibilities, but the actual power of creation exists only in this moment, in the eternal present, where all timelines converge and all possibilities await your selection through the frequency you choose to embody right now. The most powerful question you can ask yourself isn't, when will my desires manifest, but which parallel reality am I accessing right now? Because in every moment, through every thought, feeling, and action, you're selecting from the infinite possibilities that exist in the quantum field. You're not creating your reality from scratch. You're choosing your reality from the unlimited menu of what's already available. And that choice is made not with your mind, but with your entire being, with the frequency you embody when no one is watching, with the assumptions you hold about what's possible for someone like you. There's a profound paradox at the heart of manifestation that most people never resolve, and it's the reason why so many remain trapped in cycles of wanting without receiving, of working without results, of trying without succeeding. The paradox is this: the harder you try to manifest something, the more you confirm to the quantum field that you don't already have it. And the quantum field can only give you experiences that match your current broadcast, which means effort in manifestation often creates more separation between you and what you desire rather than bringing you closer to it. This doesn't mean you should become passive or stop taking action toward your goals. It means you need to understand the difference between inspired action and desperate action, between aligned effort and resistant effort, between the natural expression of someone who already has what they want and the frantic grasping of someone who's afraid they'll never get it. The energy behind your actions matters more than the actions themselves, because energy is what the quantum field responds to. Energy is what determines which timeline you're accessing. Energy is what collapses possibilities from the field of potential into your actual experience. When you're in the frequency of already having what you desire, actions flow naturally, opportunities appear organically, and what needs to happen happens with a grace and ease that feels almost magical, but is actually just alignment. You don't have to force doors to open because you're naturally led to the doors that are already unlocked. You don't have to convince people to help you because you magnetize the people who are naturally aligned with your vision. You don't have to struggle to find resources because you become visible to the resources that are seeking someone exactly like you. But when you're in the frequency of not having what you desire, when your actions are motivated by lack, fear, or desperation, you create resistance in the field. You push away the very things you're trying to attract because your energy is saying, "I don't have this," louder than your actions are saying, "I want this." The universe doesn't respond to what you want. It responds to who you're being. And if you're being someone who lacks what they desire, then lack is what you'll continue to experience regardless of how hard you work or how many manifestation techniques you practice. This is why some people seem to manifest effortlessly while others struggle endlessly with the same desires. The effortless manifestors aren't trying to get something they don't have. They're simply expressing what they already are. They're not working to become worthy of their desires. They're operating from the assumption that their desires are natural, normal, and inevitable for someone like them. They're not pushing against current reality. They're peacefully embodying a different reality until that reality becomes their current experience. Effortless attraction isn't about being lazy or passive. It's about being so aligned with your desires that pursuing them feels like the most natural thing in the world, like water flowing downhill, like a flower turning toward the sun. It's about reaching a state where working toward your goals doesn't feel like work because you're simply expressing the truth of who you are, following the path that your authentic self naturally wants to take, allowing your gifts and passions and desires to guide you toward experiences that fulfill not just your wants, but your purpose. The shift from effortful manifestation to effortless attraction happens when you stop trying to get something from the universe and start expressing something through the universe. When you stop seeing yourself as separate from what you desire and start recognizing that your desires are life itself, seeking to express more fully through you. When you stop believing that you have to earn your good and start knowing that your good is seeking you just as actively as you're seeking it. This requires a level of trust that most people find challenging because it asks you to let go of control while still remaining actively engaged with your life. It asks you to surrender the how while staying committed to the what. It asks you to release attachment to specific outcomes while maintaining clarity about your desires. It asks you to stop pushing and start allowing, stop forcing and start flowing, stop demanding and start attracting through the natural magnetism of your aligned being. When you master this art, when you learn to hold your desires lightly while embodying them completely, when you can want something deeply without needing it desperately, when you can work toward your goals without being attached to the results, you enter a state of effortless attraction where manifestation becomes as natural as breathing, as automatic as your heartbeat, as inevitable as the sunrise. You're no longer trying to make things happen. You're simply allowing what wants to happen through you to happen through you, and that allowance creates a kind of magic that effort alone could never produce. The journey from understanding quantum manifestation intellectually to living it as your daily reality isn't measured in days or weeks, but in moments of choice, in the countless small decisions you make throughout each day about which frequency to embody, which story to tell yourself about yourself, which version of reality to tune into through your attention, emotion, and assumption. Mastery isn't a destination you arrive at after completing a certain number of lessons or practices. Mastery is a way of being that you choose moment by moment, a commitment to alignment that you renew with each breath, each thought, each interaction with the world around you. True integration of these principles means that manifestation stops being something you do and becomes something you are. It means that consciousness becomes your primary tool for navigating reality, that coherence becomes your default state, that alignment becomes as natural and automatic as your body's ability to heal a cut or regulate your temperature. You're no longer someone who practices manifestation. You're someone who lives manifestation, who breathes manifestation, who embodies the creative power of consciousness so completely that extraordinary becomes ordinary, miracles become normal, and synchronicity becomes your daily experience. But this level of embodied mastery requires you to make peace with the fact that growth isn't linear, that expansion isn't always comfortable, that becoming who you're meant to be often means outgrowing who you've been, including the identities, relationships, and situations that once felt like home, but no longer match your evolving frequency. As you embody higher levels of coherence, as you align more completely with your authentic desires, as you tune more consistently to the timelines where your dreams are already fulfilled, you may find that some aspects of your current reality no longer resonate, no longer fit, no longer serve the version of you that you're becoming. This can feel like loss, like loneliness, like walking through the world as a stranger in your own life. But it's actually birth, the natural process of a new reality emerging from the quantum field to replace the old one. Just as a butterfly can never go back to being a caterpillar, as you embody these higher frequencies, you can never go back to being the version of yourself that tolerated less, settled for less, expected less. You've stretched your identity beyond its previous boundaries, and that expansion is irreversible. The key to navigating this transformation gracefully is to remember that you're not losing anything real. You're only releasing what was never truly yours to begin with. The illusions, the limitations, the stories about what's possible for someone like you, the beliefs about how hard life has to be, the assumptions about scarcity and separation that created the reality you're now outgrowing. What you're gaining is immeasurably more valuable. The recognition of your own creative power, the experience of living in alignment with your authentic self, the joy of expressing your gifts fully, the satisfaction of contributing to the world in ways that only you can. Embodied mastery also means developing what might be called quantum resilience, the ability to maintain your aligned frequency even when external circumstances seem to contradict your desires, even when old patterns try to reassert themselves, even when well-meaning people question your choices or suggest that you're being unrealistic. This resilience isn't built through force or willpower, but through deep knowing, through the unshakable recognition that your inner reality creates your outer reality, that your frequency determines your experience, that your alignment with truth is more powerful than any temporary appearance of limitation. This is where faith becomes practical rather than religious, where trust becomes a technology rather than just a feeling. When you've experienced the correlation between your internal coherence and your external synchronicity enough times, when you've witnessed your reality shift in response to your frequency shift often enough, when you've seen evidence that consciousness truly is the primary creative force in your life, then maintaining alignment during challenging times isn't an act of blind belief. It's an act of informed confidence based on your direct experience of how reality actually works. The ultimate test of embodied mastery isn't how well you can manifest when everything is going smoothly, when you feel good, when your circumstances support your desires. The ultimate test is how quickly you can return to alignment when you've been knocked off center. How gracefully you can navigate setbacks without collapsing back into old patterns. How consistently you can choose your desired frequency even when your current reality is showing you something different. This is where manifestation becomes a spiritual practice, a way of staying connected to truth regardless of appearances, a method of remaining faithful to your highest vision even when the world seems to be telling you a different story. As you develop this level of mastery, you begin to realize that you were never actually trying to get anything from the universe. You were trying to remember something, to reclaim something, to return to something that was always already yours. Your desires aren't foreign objects that you need to attract from outside yourself. They're expressions of your authentic nature, seeking to manifest through you. Your dreams aren't separate from who you are. They're who you are trying to become more fully realized in physical form. This recognition changes everything about how you approach manifestation. Instead of trying to convince the universe to give you what you want, you start allowing the universe to express what it wants through you. Instead of seeing yourself as small and separate, trying to get something from something big and powerful, you start recognizing yourself as an individualized expression of that same infinite creative power, equally capable of creating, equally deserving of abundance, equally worthy of love, equally able to contribute something unique and valuable to the tapestry of existence. From this perspective, manifestation isn't about getting your personal wishes fulfilled. It's about allowing life to live more fully through you, about becoming a clearer channel for the creative force that moves through all things, about aligning your individual will with the cosmic will that's always seeking the highest good for all. Your personal desires become sacred, not because getting what you want is the point, but because fulfilling your authentic desires allows you to express your gifts more fully, serve others more completely, and contribute to the evolution of consciousness itself. This is the deepest teaching of quantum manifestation. You're not separate from the creative force of the universe trying to manipulate it into giving you what you want. You are the creative force of the universe, individualized as you, seeking to know itself more fully through your unique expression, your authentic desires, your gifts, your love, your service. When you align with this truth, when you embody this recognition, when you live from this knowing, manifestation becomes effortless because you're no longer trying to get something from life. You're allowing life to give something through you, and that something is more beautiful, more fulfilling, more meaningful than anything your personal mind could have imagined. There's something your soul remembers that your mind has forgotten, something your heart knows that your brain has never learned, something your authentic self embodies that your conditioned self has spent years trying to unlearn. Before you were taught that wanting was selfish, before you learned that dreams don't come true, before you absorbed the collective belief that life is hard and good things are scarce, you knew something profound about reality that quantum physics is only now beginning to validate scientifically. You knew that the universe was friendly, that possibilities were infinite, that you were connected to something vast and loving and creative, and that this connection made anything possible. Watch a 4-year-old child play, and you'll see quantum manifestation in its purest form. They don't separate between imagination and reality because they understand intuitively that imagination is the laboratory where reality is created. They don't struggle with believing in their desires because they haven't yet learned that some desires are realistic and others aren't. They don't worry about worthiness because they haven't yet absorbed the programming that tells them they need to earn their good. They simply exist in the frequency of infinite possibility, and from that frequency, magic happens naturally, effortlessly, constantly. That child still exists within you. Beneath all the layers of conditioning, underneath all the protective mechanisms your ego has constructed, beyond all the limiting beliefs your mind has collected like barnacles on a ship's hull, that original innocence remains intact, waiting to be remembered, ready to be reclaimed, eager to be expressed through your adult life with all its responsibilities and complexities and opportunities. The journey of quantum manifestation isn't about learning something new. It's about unlearning everything that's false, about peeling away everything that isn't truly you, about returning to the frequency you held before the world convinced you that you were separate, limited, and small. This return to innocence doesn't mean becoming naive or childish in your approach to life. It means reclaiming the childlike qualities that are actually quantum qualities. Wonder, trust, playfulness, presence, the ability to live in possibility rather than probability, the capacity to feel excited about desires without simultaneously calculating all the reasons why they might not work out. It means recovering the part of you that could dream without editing, want without apologizing, hope without hedging your bets with cynicism and realism. The ego will resist this return to innocence because innocence threatens its very existence. The ego is essentially a collection of protective strategies developed to help you navigate a world that often felt unsafe, unpredictable, and hostile to your authentic expression. These strategies once served you, helped you survive, kept you functional in environments that couldn't hold your full magnitude. But what serves survival rarely serves thriving, and what helps you fit in rarely helps you stand out, and what keeps you safe rarely keeps you satisfied. As you begin to embody the innocence that is your birthright, as you allow yourself to trust in the fundamental friendliness of the universe, as you permit yourself to believe that good things are not only possible but natural for you, your ego will generate thoughts designed to pull you back to the familiar territory of limitation. It will remind you of past disappointments, past failures, past evidence that life is hard and dreams don't come true. It will point to current circumstances as proof that your desires are unrealistic. It will use the voices of other people, especially those closest to you, to suggest that you're being foolish, impractical, or setting yourself up for disappointment. But here's what your ego doesn't understand and can never understand. Disappointment is not the opposite of manifestation. Disappointment is what happens when you try to manifest from ego instead of from innocence, when you try to control outcomes instead of trusting the process, when you try to force timelines instead of allowing divine timing, when you try to manipulate reality instead of aligning with it. True manifestation from innocence, doesn't create disappointment because it's not attached to specific outcomes in specific time frames. It's aligned with the highest good, which sometimes looks different from what your limited perspective thought you wanted, but always delivers something more beautiful, more fulfilling, more perfect than you could have imagined. The return to innocence is also a return to reverence, to the recognition that existence itself is a miracle, that consciousness is a gift, that your ability to create reality through the power of your aligned attention and coherent emotion is not a technique to be mastered, but a sacred responsibility to be honored. When you manifest from this place of reverence, when you approach your creative power with the humility and wonder of a child discovering something magical, your manifestations carry a different quality. They serve not just your personal fulfillment, but the greater good. They contribute to the elevation of consciousness rather than just the satisfaction of desires. From innocence, you don't manifest to prove anything, or to fix anything, or to get anything. You manifest as a natural expression of who you are, as a way of allowing life to experience itself more fully through your unique perspective, as a method of contributing your gifts to the world in ways that only you can. Your desires become prayers, your manifestations become offerings, your success becomes service, and your fulfillment becomes a frequency that uplifts everyone whose life you touch. This is the true purpose of quantum manifestation, not to get what you want from life, but to give what life wants through you, to become so aligned with the creative force of the universe that your individual expression serves the evolution of the whole. When you manifest from this place of innocence and reverence, when you create from love rather than from lack, when you embody abundance rather than try to attract it, you don't just change your own reality. You become a beacon of possibility for everyone who witnesses your transformation, living proof that another way is possible, walking evidence that dreams do come true when they arise from the deepest truth of who you are. As we reach the end of this journey together, I want you to feel into something that's been happening in your body, in your energy field, in the space around your heart, as you've been listening to these words. Something has shifted, hasn't it? Something has awakened, or maybe reawakened, something that feels both completely new and utterly familiar, like coming home to a truth you've always known but had forgotten how to access. That stirring, that recognition, that sense of expansion you're feeling right now isn't just an emotional response to inspiring content. It's your frequency changing in real time. It's your field reorganizing around a new possibility. It's your quantum self recognizing itself in these words and beginning to emerge more fully into your conscious awareness. The truth is, you didn't find this video by accident. You didn't stumble upon these words randomly. Your higher self, the version of you that already lives in complete alignment with your deepest desires, guided you here because it was time. Time to remember who you really are beneath all the conditioning and limitation. Time to reclaim the creative power that is your birthright. Time to stop trying so hard to become someone worthy of your dreams and start embodying the someone who already is worthy, who already has access to everything you desire, who already exists in the quantum field as a fully realized possibility, waiting for you to tune into that frequency and make it your lived reality. Everything I've shared with you in this video isn't really information, it's remembrance, it's recognition. It's activation of something that was always already true about you, but had been covered over by years of conditioning, by society's programming about what's possible and what isn't, by past experiences that taught you to expect less, want less, be less than the magnificent creative being you actually are. The quantum field doesn't see your limitations. It doesn't recognize your excuses. It doesn't acknowledge your past failures or current circumstances as proof of what's possible for you. The quantum field only sees your frequency, only responds to your broadcast, only mirrors back the energy you're consistently embodying. And right now, in this moment, your frequency is shifting. You can feel it, can't you? That sense of expansion, of possibility, of something opening within you that had been closed. That's not just inspiration. That's initiation. That's your consciousness beginning to align with the truth of your creative power. That's your nervous system starting to attune to the frequency of the reality you've been longing to experience. That's your heart and mind coming into coherence around the recognition that you are not separate from the creative force of the universe. You are the creative force of the universe, individualized as you, capable of anything, worthy of everything, destined for greatness, not because you've earned it, but because it's your essential nature. So here's what I want you to do, not as a technique, but as an act of self-recognition, not as homework, but as a homecoming. I want you to close your eyes for just a moment after this video ends and breathe into the frequency you've been feeling as you've listened to these words. Don't try to understand it intellectually. Don't analyze it or figure it out. Just feel it. Embody it. Let it fill every cell of your being until you can't tell where you end and this frequency begins. Then from that state of alignment, from that place of coherence, from that frequency of infinite possibility, I want you to ask yourself one question. What is my quantum self ready to experience now? Listen not with your mind, but with your entire being. The answer might come as a feeling, an image, a knowing, a sudden clarity about what you're truly called to create or experience or express. Whatever comes, receive it without judgment, without editing, without immediately calculating how it could possibly happen. Just receive it as a transmission from the version of you that already exists in complete fulfillment, already lives in total alignment, already embodies everything you've ever desired. That vision, that feeling, that knowing you just received isn't a fantasy. It's a frequency. It's a timeline. It's a reality that exists right now in the quantum field, waiting for you to embody it consistently enough that it becomes your actual experience. Your job isn't to figure out how to make it happen. Your job is to become it so completely, so authentically, so unwaveringly that reality has no choice but to rearrange itself around that frequency. This is your invitation to stop living as someone who hopes their dreams might come true someday and start living as someone whose dreams are already true in the realm of infinite possibility. Someone who just needs to align with that truth consistently enough to collapse it from potential into actual experience. This is your call to stop trying to get something from the universe and start allowing the universe to express something magnificent through you. This is your moment to remember that you are not small, separate, or limited. You are infinite consciousness having a human experience, and that human experience can be as extraordinary, as fulfilling, as magical as you're willing to embody. The quantum field is listening. Your future self is waiting. Your dreams are calling. The only question that remains is, are you ready to answer?